Good evening to one and all. I believe everything is set. Shall we start? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, we can start.
Good evening, all. Dear participants of Nanjal Catholic College, we have arranged YouTube link for participating in today's FDP. I request all the staff of Nanjal Catholic College to attend the FDP through the YouTube link. So, a warm and cordial welcome. A warm and cordial welcome to day 2 of our 6-day national level online faculty development program on excellence in education, shaping tomorrow's classroom, organized by the IQAC of Nanjal Catholic College of Arts and Science. I hope everyone had an enriching experience during yesterday's session, Gen I for teachers. Today, we move ahead with another significant topic, student engagement. So, with no more delay, I invite the head of English department, Mrs. M.S. Subi, to officially welcome you all. Please, ma'am.
Good evening to one and all gathered here. Education is not the filling of pail, but the lighting of a fire. It is my absolute privilege and honor to welcome you all to the second day of the 6-day national level online faculty development program organized by the Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Nanjal Catholic College of Arts and Science, Kalekavade. The theme of this FDP, Excellence in Education, Shaping Tomorrow's Classroom, is incredibly relevant as we navigate the evolving dynamics of modern pedagogy. Today, we focus on a core pillar of effective teaching, student engagement. First and foremost, I extend a hearty welcome to our guiding light, Reverend Dr. C. Stephen, Secretary and Correspondent of Nanjal Catholic College of Arts and Science. Welcome you, Father. I'm immensely pleased to welcome our respected principal, Dr. M. Amalanathan. His administrative excellence and dedication to academic quality always inspire us. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
It is a distinct honor to welcome our keynote speaker for this session, Dr. Megha Mary Michael, Assistant Professor, Bharathamata Institute of Management, Cochin. Ma'am, we are thrilled to have you here with us today to share your insights on fostering true student engagement in modern classrooms. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
I extend my warm welcome to the IQAC team and all my fellow faculty members who worked behind the scenes to make the virtual gathering a reality. Last, but certainly not least, I extend a warm welcome to all the enthusiastic educators, professors, and researchers from across the nation who have joined us online today. Once again, I welcome you all and I wish everyone a highly productive and enriching learning experience. Thank you and have a wonderful session ahead.
Thank you, ma'am, for your warm words of welcome. Now, I request Dr. R. Ruba Rajashekhan, Assistant Professor of English, to introduce today's guest. Please, sir.
Good evening, everyone. We are honored to welcome today's chief guest, Dr. Megha Mary Michael, a visionary educator, researcher, and assistant professor at the Bharathamata Institute of Management with over 13 years of academic excellence. She holds a PhD from Pondicherry University, an MBA from Jason's School of Business, a UGC NET JRF qualification, and a university first rank in communicative English from Assumption College. Dr. Megha's distinguished career includes serving as a head of the management studies department at St. Teresa's College, along with faculty roles at SCMS, Marian International, and Jnanam School of Business. An expert in consumer behavior and marketing, she has published extensively in prestigious national and international ABDC indexed journals. With her profound expertise and rich experience, we are privileged to have her guide us today. And please join me in giving a warm welcome to our chief guest, Dr. Megha Mary Michael. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Ruben Rajashekar, for that wonderful words of welcome. And I would like to thank the management of Nanjal Arts and Science College for this opportunity that is being given, and for the opportunities that is given to all of us for that matter, where we all come together and discuss how we can improve our academic excellence. So this is going to be one platform where I understand this is the second day of our FDP. So this is going to be definitely a platform where we discuss about how we can improve our teaching learning experience. So that is the whole purpose of this FDP. That is what I understand. So can I start with my session?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'll quickly, I have some, the way I would like to take up this concept of student engagement with all of you sitting here. I'm sure all of you are into teaching for maybe so many years now, and all of us have different ways in which we keep our students engaged. And all of us who have taught at least 5 or 6 batches of students now, we really understand that we are not getting the same kind of students that we used to get maybe 5 years before or 10 years before. There is a huge difference in the way we were students and how we see students as teachers. So there has been a change in the way students approach education to a large extent. So many things have changed. Like yesterday, we discussed about how AI is taking over and how we make sure that AI is incorporated into our academics. So a lot of changes are happening everywhere. And hence, there should be some kind of changes that is happening from our teaching methodology and teaching learning experience as well. So when I sit here today and when I handle the session on student engagement, I am expecting it to be a discussion of how we all do this, because I'm sure that all of us have different ways in which we engage with our students. All of us might have experiences to share. So I request all of you to actively take part in this discussion and make sure that all of us contribute to this whole learning experience. So I have developed a very small set of slides for all of you. I'll quickly share those slides. I hope you can see my slides.
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Is this Google Meet platform actually disturbing the slides as well?
No.
All right. So what we are going to discuss today is we'll be discussing about student engagement, and through student engagement, what we are looking at is we have to make sure that every single class that we handle, every single hour that we handle, we have to count. We have to make it count. So that is the whole point why we are discussing about student engagement. So before we can actually start with student engagement and how to go ahead with it, let us start with a tiny word cloud. So I'll just quickly send a link, and whoever, I'm not sure if it would be possible for all of you to get into it, but then I'll quickly share. So there is a link in our chat box. I hope you can see it.
Yes.
Yeah, please click on the link and we'll try to see there is just one single question that I would like to ask all of you, which is, give me one word to describe this generation of students. That is, I believe this whole FDP comes at a time when we are going to start our new academic year. So, can you think of one word with which you would describe this generation of students? So, that is the question. You can use that link, and that link will take you to menti.com, where you can just type in. Right, so we have started getting the responses. We have got digital natives, restless, so true, making us teachers as well restless, I believe. And yes, there is an answer in the chat box also, smart, very true. Digital students, smart, active, restless, anxious, very good. It comes from our understanding of our students. Gen AI students, so smart, not just plain smart, but so smart, impatient, true. More innovative, yes, every year they are getting more and more innovative, I believe. The kind of ideas they come out with, you should go and see our students presenting ideas in ideas platforms. They come out with really good ideas. Brilliant but impatient, true. Energetic, careless for career. I am sure I really understand where that comes from. Digital, so smart. Finding shortcuts only, yes. Virtual addicted, shortcut seeker. So shortcut, I think, is getting more of a weightage. Transforming knowledge through AI, yes, definitely. Right. Any more responses coming in? If you just quickly look at this, look at what is happening here, see all the answers that have come from us teachers. It is a mix of things. We understand as teachers, we understand that. I hope you can see the screen with the word cloud.
Yes, yes, we
Yes.
can.
Yeah. So, see, look at it. There are, when we speak that they are careless for career, we also say that they are energetic. When we say they are energetic, we also say that they are restless and they are anxious, they are impatient. I understand it very clearly when you say they're careless for their career. Maybe that is not what is actually motivating them to come to the college itself. So career may be the last thing in their mind. They are smart, yet they are anxious. And we see them through this individual lens of how they all interact with, yes, they're very smart Gen AI. All of us are very familiar with the cockroach Janata Party right now, right? So if you actually look at the whole idea behind it, we have a set of students who are actually worried about their future. But as most of you mentioned here, they're limiting all their worries and they're limiting all their expressions to the virtual world. So maybe we are not able to reach them. It is very difficult for us as teachers to go to their level and sit with them and speak. So sometimes when I am very bad with my Instagram handle, I have a very bad Instagram profile. So I have not posted anything except for, I think, my nephew's convocation. That's the only post that I have made. So I have students come and tell me, ma'am, if you can't handle this, why don't you just leave this Instagram? Instagram is not meant for old people like you. So I keep, they make fun of me saying that I am very old because people like me can't actually be active on Instagram. These are things that kids today look at. Where I come from in Kochi, we have a lot of institutions where teachers are very actively part of Instagram and Instagram reels that actually become very viral. So we are dealing with a set of students who are actually wanting us also to be with them at their level while we teach them, which may not really be a practical option for most of us. So, why do we discuss student engagement today? We have a set of students who are completely different from what we were dealing with in the past years. They have changed, students have changed, and that could be one reason why today we even speak about student engagement, because all of us have tried many things that we believe would work out with them, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So that is where we come from. So to simply give you I give you an idea of what is student engagement. So I was doing a little bit of research as to what is student engagement. So what is student engagement? In simple terms, it is the degree of attention, curiosity, interest, and passion that students demonstrate during learning. And if you look at all these things that I've put in bold there, it is speaking about the attention. And with attention, we know the attention span is very less. We see kids who can't sit for 20 minutes at a time. Why do we speak of kids? Think of all of us. How is our attention span? Something that I have personally felt is, with all these reels and everything that gives us 20 seconds, 30 seconds of attention, we are also losing our attention span. So, student engagement is how much of attention, how much of curiosity, how much of interest and passion students demonstrate while they are learning. And that is not just limited to, I teach them Pythagoras theorem, and if I go next day and ask if if they can say it, that is not student engagement. It's not just in the cognitive side. We speak about three sides of student engagement. It has something to do with your brain, it has to be cognitive. The mental effort. Are the students willing to take a mental effort? Are they thinking deeply? How much of intellectual investment is the student putting in for understanding the concepts? So sometimes we teach them, they learn. Is it like that, or do they learn by their own? Do they put that kind of mental effort? Do they put some kind of intellectual investment into understanding the concepts? That is the cognitive side of student engagement. Then there is the behavioral side. Behavioral side is where they involve in active participation. They turn up no matter what. They don't take, you don't have any kind of absenteeism. They come every day for your class. And they're visibly involved in the class activities. And then the third one, which is very relevant in today's situations, which is the emotional engagement. They should have a sense of belonging, an enthusiasm, and a genuine connection to the learning experience. So, as a class, do they feel that kind of a bond? Do they gel well with their classmates? All of those are also part of our student engagement. So, student engagement is not something that you can take for one subject. Okay, I am basically a person who teaches marketing management. So, when I teach marketing, I cannot be thinking that they understand the concepts of marketing and they forget about it. No, I want to make sure that my class grows together as a class. There should be a sense of belonging that they get. There should be some kind of an enthusiasm. And before we go any further, there is something I would like to tell you, which is sometimes we see that we try to equate student engagement with noise. Student engagement is different from noise. Sometimes in a silent class, the students might be more engaged than in a class which is full of activities. I personally remember one situation. I always think about this when I speak about student engagement. So during our first year MBA program, we had this professor who used to teach us international marketing. So, what he used to speak about international marketing is, one day he came to the class and said, see, I have a Rolex watch. And this was the first international business class. So I have a Rolex watch. I have a Louis Philippe shirt. And I have a Tommy Hilfiger t-shirt. So he was speaking about all the brands that he has. And he said, see, this is how international business is very relevant. We all look at international business as it is. So the next day he came to class and he was asking, who can tell me what I taught yesterday? So this was the initial days of our MBA program. And then one of our students got up and he said, sir, I remember. And then he went on to the stage and said, so sir was asking, okay, what was the class yesterday? You have a Rolex watch. You have a Ray-Ban glasses. You have a Tommy Hilfiger t-shirt. And Sir was very happy about it. And he's like, yes. And so what did we discuss about it in final? Oh, that I don't remember. Now, this is what can happen when we do a lot of things, but the crux of what we are trying to speak does not reach them. So that is the whole point where student engagement comes from. So this is something I want all of you to understand. Student engagement may not mean that your students are visibly active and noisy. It can simply mean that students understands the concept, they are mentally involved, it may not result in all these three things happening together at a time. So it's not actually equal to the noise. So this is what student engagement in terms of theory looks like. Right now, why do we need to speak about student engagement, especially in an academic platform? Why do we need to speak about student engagement? Student engagement matters because student engagement is related to their academic performance. Engaged students tend to learn more deeply and they retain knowledge significantly longer. So their academic performance is definitely influenced by student engagement. Now, again, if you actually ask me, I come from a very diverse background. Like I said, I did my undergraduation in communicative English, then shifted to management studies. So I'm sure there might be different teachers from different fields in this session. So if you look at why I became an English, what made me choose English was only because of one of my school teachers. So this teacher inspired us so much. The classes were so engaging that you start loving the subject. You somehow interact with all of us. I'm sure all of you sitting here, especially as teachers, all of us will definitely have that one teacher who actually helped us or who actually made us look at teaching as a career. Right? So that academic performance, when I'm engaged better, I learn better. This is something that we speak about mathematics classes always. The students, especially school students, if they like the teacher, what do we mean when they like the teacher? It is that the teacher can keep them engaged. The teacher can make concepts clear to them by her methods, which is one way of engaging the students. So you have a very good mathematics teacher, you like mathematics. You have a horrible mathematics teacher, you hate mathematics for the rest of your life. So our academic performance in many ways is related to the student engagement that we have. Second, student engagement gives you ways in which you can think critically, higher order reasoning, problem solving. Because when we speak about student engagement, we are not looking at lecturing alone. We are looking at different ways in which they can contribute to the classroom. You are making them to think, you are asking them to give solutions to problems that might be happening in a business setting or any other setting for that matter. For different subjects, there can be different ways in which. So you are actually fostering critical thinking. So it is very important for us to engage our students. Third is student well-being. Now, this is the most important thing. We speak about today. I was reading an article in Harvard, which was about they call it as cringe culture. There is something called cringe culture that, and think of it, we are not speaking about it from an Indian setting, from a country which we think is the most developed, where we think the best of education happens, and from the best of institution, that is where we are speaking about. There comes a professor who is speaking about cringe culture, where students, this cringe is a new gen word. Most of us may be familiar with it. So people, when students are asked a question, they cringe. They feel that others will look at them as cringe if they try to answer those questions. If they try to respond to it, people might think of it as cringe. So they don't want to be part of that cringe group of people. So students, even when they really want to give a response, they may not give that response. But we know that from questions, from answering questions is where learning happens. Students are not willing to do that. And even when we say that they're digitally active, they have a lot of all those things that we discuss. I remember seeing anxious as one word that all of us speak or associate with our students. These students are anxious. They're not really very comfortable in coming out of their shell and giving an answer in a classroom. So when there is a student engagement, we look at how we can do that. But then when there is an opportunity for engaging better, these students will report high motivation and lower anxiety. And I think the first thing we as teachers should be doing is setting the tone where the students are not anxious. When they come to the class, they can be anxious about many other things, but they should not be anxious of the environment in which they are going to sit, the classroom environment. So student well-being is related to student engagement. If the students are engaged, they are more of good it's not just physical health, but also of their mental health. And engaged students have higher retention. So there are students, sometimes I'm sure all of you might have gone through this experience. You give an example. Like I said, I belong to the marketing domain. So I give an example in the class, and sometimes I see my students replicating the same example in the exams. It may not be there on my slides. So some example we discuss. I have even have cases where some of the students write my experience with my children. So marketing is a class where we can speak about anything. So I speak about how my son asked for something, and something that went that way. Something about a brand that he was discussing. Once I was speaking about how every time my son brushes his teeth, he tend to repeat this song, brush, 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 2 times a day, brush with Colgate. Now, what is he doing? He's adding on to that brand. So I was discussing about this. And there are students who wrote it exactly as it is. Example, a child singing brush, brush, brush 2 times a day. So they have that higher retention. They're speaking about marketing, they're speaking about branding, but from what they heard in the classes. And they feel connected. And they are the people who are not going to drop out of your class. They continue because they are engaged. They tend to feel connected. They are very less likely to drop out. Then there is workplace readiness. We deal with higher education students who are actually going to get into their jobs very soon. And we are speaking about this workplace readiness. When a student is engaged, he's good at collaboration, he's good at communication, he's good at problem solving, and this way he's growing through the engagement. So, workplace readiness. When we speak of workplace readiness, I'm speaking about how well they can collaborate their team.
இது தூக்கி மேல போட்டுருக்கோமா இது எதுமா எடுத்தது இது தூக்கி மேல போட்டு
Lakshmi ma'am, can you please mute yourself? I'm sorry for that. Yeah. So, workplace readiness. And finally, it gives a better classroom climate. Engagement reduces the disciplinary issues and it will foster mutual respect. So, students tend to interact with their classmates better, and that classroom climate becomes better. So it can actually help them to have a mutual respect with each other. So this is why we are speaking about engagement. Engagement is very important because it comes with so many other incentives. It's not just the learning alone. It is more than that. It is building them as individuals. It is building their critical thinking. It is building their physical and mental well-being. It is about how ready they are to take up their job roles, whether they are willing to communicate, whether they are willing to collaborate with others, how well can they solve problems, how well can they grow together, and how they can interact with people and improve their communication. So, all of this are reasons why we believe that engagement matters. So, can someone maybe in the chat, you can come out and say, is there something that you feel in your class, that some challenges that you face in your day-to-day classroom, something that some of the challenges, some realities that we face as faculty? So for one, I could say all of us struggle to keep these kids engaged. We cannot, it is very difficult to make them feel this belonging. So someone was speaking about they're not interested in their career anymore. So other than that, in the regular classroom, what are the major challenges that you face? I think I am facing a challenge here. So, see, this is what we might ask a question to a student, and do we get that kind of response? So, do we have any response coming up in the chat box? Distraction, so true of that. Right? Our students are totally distracted.
Good evening, ma'am.
Right?
I face a
they have so
particular
many things, so which
challenge.
is something that experience. Yes, ma'am.
I face a particular challenge. I find it difficult to keep all the students engaged in an activity. Only a few volunteer students participate, but how to make the whole class participate in an activity? Kindly give me some suggestions, ma'am.
Yes, yes, definitely. So this is something that all of us face. See, in my personal experiences in my classroom also, I face this. Even when activities, one activity that is working in one class, the same, we have two batches of MBA students. Something that worked in the A batch is not working in the B batch. Yes, they want everything on screen, small attention plans. They sometimes don't even listen to the question. Tell me about it. I face it from my own kids at home. So I think a lot of my student engagement lessons come from my own boys. I have two boys at home, and most of my I tend to speak to them because I want to see what is going on in the mind of my students. So I learn a lot from actually from my boys. I ask them why they don't do this in class. Why don't you answer to teachers? And so, for all of them, they have different reasons. So, this is our reality. They are phones over professors kind of people. When we were students, we were actually looking at our professors for any kind of information. So when I did my MBA, it was we used Google only for maybe few important assignments or something. Now, even if I say something, the student might immediately look at it at the phone and say, no, 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 this is not what ChatGPT tells me. I find it very difficult to stop my students from using ChatGPT to get notes. So sometimes when I want them to read a particular text, I'll not give them my slides. Instead, I'll ask them to go read and come. They'll never read from a book. For them, phone is always above your professor. They are physically present but mentally absent. So there are students, we have a very strict mobile phone policy in our college. So students are not allowed to use mobile phones during class hours. They can take it during the break. So during the class hours, so one of my students, he was taking his mobile phone. So I asked him, why do you do this? And he's like, ma'am, it is just a habit. There are no messages coming for me. I am not getting any calls. But if I don't take this phone, then I am worried about it. So our students are coming from that generation where they have this fear of missing out. They believe phones more than professors. Second is the silent classroom. You come with a question, you ask them to give that answer, they just stare at you, a blank stare. They have nothing to say. Sometimes during the COVID times, during an online class, I was just marketing classes again. So I was speaking to them about what is your favorite toothpaste brand? No answer. Everybody's videos are on, everybody's looking at me, and they're just staring at me. I don't know whether I can ask a simpler question than that. So it is not the questions that we ask that are causing the problems. The questions, maybe the way that we ask the questions, the silent classroom. They don't look at us, they just look at us, they don't have an answer. And something I struggle a lot is the post lunch coma. I also handle business law for these students. And when I get this afternoon classes, I'm like so disappointed. I have to speak to them about business law, and they are in this post. Their attention span is already very low. Their energy dips and attention drops dramatically after their post lunch. And like you said, ma'am, the same five students respond to you. You always have a handful of students who participate, others do not participate. Now, why they do not participate is what we should be looking at, right? And wrote over reasoning. Something we all agree is they study only to pass. They don't have that. Learning and passing is two different things. They study to pass and they're not very keen on learning. But most of all, what has happened is students have changed. We understand that in the past 10 years, students have changed. So I've been teaching for 16 years. The first batch of students I taught and the current batch that I have in hand are two totally different set of people. Students have changed over a period of time. But did my teaching change? Am I using the same things that I did 16 years before? Am I using the same aids? Am I using the same methods to teach the students who are digital native? Probably that is where our question of why it is not happening comes up. Why is it that students are not being engaged? The reason might come from there. Now, why is this? What are these barriers? I would say there are three sides that we have to look at. One is from the student side. We spoke about these students. There is a lack of intrinsic motivation. They are not motivated by themselves. They don't have that motivation to learn. They have, most importantly, they have the fear of judgment. Like I said, the cringe culture. They are afraid of how their peer members would evaluate them when they give you an answer. They are worried about what whether their answer would be wrong. They are more worried about, they might be looking as very smart outside, they might look as very smart. You ask them to coordinate a program, they'll do it fabulous. But the moment you come to class and ask a question, the same student might not be responding, because there is a peer pressure, there can be personal stress and anxiety, and these kids come with very short attention span. No matter how interesting our classes, they have only maximum of 20 minutes of attention span. But can we have classes of 20 minutes? That's practically not possible as well. And majority of your students, if you ask them whether education is relevant, probably they are thinking that education is irrelevant. They have very passive learning habits. They think of education as a means to get a degree. They're not worried about, they, like all of us, I wouldn't take students apart. All of us who are not very keen with maths might say, where do we use all these things? Teachers taught us sine theta, cos theta. I took so much time in learning all of those. Where am I going to ever use that? It is not at all relevant for me. Why did I even learn? So this is what students feel, especially in higher education. They think that the whole idea of college education is just to get them a degree and get them into a job. They're not interested in that learning. But look at us faculty. From the faculty point of view, we are overly relying on lectures. Can we stop giving them lectures? If we stop giving them lectures, they will say teachers have not taught us anything. No classes happen. It's all, they come, do some activity, they go home, nothing happens. Nobody teaches us. And we have over reliance on measures. I'm sure your management and the senior teams would definitely not let you to let go of internal exams. We do internal exams, we evaluate them. Our reliance is completely on measures. And the kind of pressure that we face when our syllabus is, we have 2 days to complete one module, we'll still do that. Right? From us faculty side, we have that pressure to complete the syllabus. We come from an autonomous college. In spite of us being the ones who designed the syllabus and the question bank and question paper, everything, we still have the syllabus pressure. We have multiple things to do. And today's faculty is not just teachers. We're not just teaching. We have more administrative work. We have NAC to look at. We have NBA or other accreditations, NIR, of lot of things where we'll have to put our energy into. And in that, the syllabus completion pressure comes to us. How much of activities can we have in a class? Every time, by the time we reach the last module, there are no activities. We just finish the portions and get out. So the faculty has this pressure as well. Again, we have very limited training in active learning. We would like to do that, but where do we get this kind of training from? And we have resistance to change. Definitely, some of us may not be really digitally skilled. We don't know how to use it, so we don't use it. But we should understand that there are methods which do not actually rely on digital things as well. And again, we have large class size, as ma'am was saying. In a large class, few people might contribute, few people might not contribute. That is, from the faculty side, we have challenges. Again, from, if you look at it from the management point of view or from the senior systems point of view, we have an exam focused culture. We cannot let go of that. Right now, what we have in India is we are completely focused on our exam. You cannot have activities and events and engagement related things happening in class and forget about exams. End of the day, the students will ask, ma'am, what are the important questions? We have infrastructural limitations. Something that I seriously wanted to try so many times was the simulation experiences. But infrastructure, we have limitations there. And we would like to innovate our teaching methodology, but do we have that kind of time? We have very limited time for teaching innovation. So these are all the challenges that we have. And something we need to understand is the students today, they lack their motivation, their attention span is very less. So we are not just competing with other subjects. Marketing is not competing with finance. We are competing with Instagram, YouTube, Netflix. We have to be more entertaining than Netflix. We have to be more fast paced than your Instagram reels. We have to be as engaging as YouTube reels. Only then our students are interested in us. So we are not competing with other subjects. We are speaking about all these other social media platforms that are also taking up their attention. So this is the challenge or the barriers that we have towards engagement. Now, what I'll do is I'll share some techniques that we can use for engagement. Now, here, like ma'am said, we have to have an understanding of our students. We need to know who would speak and who wouldn't speak. So once we know our students very well, we have to deliberately divide them into groups. Especially when it comes to the first method is called the think, pair, share. Think, pair, share is you pose a question and instead of asking everybody to give an answer, individual thinking, that is something they don't like. It is like me. I'm a very bad singer. But if somebody comes and tells me, let's do a group song, I'll be like, okay, I can go on the stage, stand there somewhere and just move my lips and I will feel part of this team. If the team gets a prize, I'm also part of it. Now, all of us have this herd mentality. So when somebody asks you to speak individually, probably they wouldn't do that. So pair them with other people. Pause a question, give them some time for an individual thinking. So give them a time to think. Once they think, let them not come back to you with an answer. Pair them with someone who is sitting next to them or someone who is not at all sitting next to them. Let them discuss and then they come and share. So this is a very clear technique that we can use. And it doesn't require any kind of preparation. Instead of asking them, I would even suggest that they do this by copying, but let us even conduct exams this way. Give the question, let one person think individually, and when we give questions, give them higher order questions where you don't have to write an answer. No, don't ask them define marketing. Instead, ask them a question as to which is that one brand you would think has done beautiful marketing. Explain. Give this question, let them do an individual thinking, let them note down points, then join them together, partner discussion, and let them share in the class. Second is case studies. Something as management, especially in IIMs and Harvards and all of those places, they do use a lot of case studies. So then I was thinking, now this is for us management studies. Case studies are a way of our life. We use case studies everywhere. Now, how can you, as when all of you come from different fields, how can we use case studies? I'm sure science subjects would have definitely using case studies. I was recently thinking about, as an English student, how can maybe my teacher teach case studies? So some ideas that I thought was maybe I can give them a situation which is more similar to a role play. I can give them a situation like, what if uh, maybe your English teachers would be able to think about it. That is, what if Desdemona knew that Othello was doubting her? What if Othello came to know about Iago's jealousy even before him killing Desdemona? So how would the whole story would have changed based on how they all are individuals in that particular play? So give them case studies which may not really be real world management scenarios. Now, in management, we use real cases, but we can think about other cases as well. Now, I am attending online FDP at IIM Kozhikode. So, how our teacher teaches there, Dr. Srijesh. So, what he does as method of his teaching is he always gives us case studies. We are learning Python, we are learning R, we are learning all these softwares. What he does is he gives us case studies. And something interesting about this case studies, none of these case studies are available online. None of these case studies are there in even the best case study journals. These are case studies that he creates. Whatever he needs to teach, he puts in this case study. Whatever experiences he wants us to have, everything he puts into this case studies, and he develops a case study for himself. And he develops data, similar data based on the case study. Now, for us teachers, see, we have to understand that we have AI. Yesterday ma'am was teaching about how we can use AI in our studies. Now same way, develop case studies, develop whatever you want. You can use chat gpt. Good prompts can give you good case studies from chat gpt. Use a very good prompt. Act like a case writer. This is the batch of students that I'm handling. These are all the learnings that they should get. Based on this, give me a case study. Now, ChatGPT gives you a case study. Give them all corrections that I don't want it to be very. I need it only in half page. I need it only in simple English. Every tweaks you can do. Case studies will get your students engaged. And what you can do is give the case study, get all the answers from the case study, write it all on the board, and take each one and discuss. That is one very good way to deal with case studies. Third is role play and simulations. So an English classroom can have a lot of simulations. All the dramas that we learned, everything that is not even drama, you can ask them to uh, bring it out. Role plays. So role plays can be, maybe science subjects can think about what would an engineer do. Give them role plays. Again, role plays. Today we have all these AI tools that will help you do it. Use AI tools to develop your role play. Tell to AI what is the subject that you're teaching, what is the context that you want. And role play is one way even students who are usually disengaged can engage, because they like to act and they might be very smart, but they're not getting a venue where might not be intellectually very sound. So you are giving them an option where they can role play. Students usually like role plays and simulations. Problem based learning is where you present the problem first and let the students discover solutions. Let them give multiple solutions. First, note down all their solutions. Take each solution and try to find out what is good, what is wrong. Again, it should be on a discussion based mode. That is one way you can handle this. In class debates, something that I have found very interesting is in class debates. So every time there is a controversy, we actually take it up for in class debates, especially if it has something to do with management. We take it for debate. And when the students debate, they try to come out with arguments, right? So what happens is it will build their confidence. And sometimes some of these students may not have learned the whole thing properly. There might be a controversy going on. Their ideas may be developed only from the reels that they saw. If you actually look at it, the biggest reel or the most sounding reel that we have heard, that is what will be there in our mind. So our students today do not form arguments, do not form ideas of themselves. They listen to certain reels. Whatever is their talk, they take it. They don't go to the base problem. So during these in-class debates, you can actually make them to think further. So if I remember long back when this Amir Khan's interview we even asked him to go to Pakistan, some kind of issues were going on. I had an in-class debate. So during the debate, everybody is speaking. Finally, I stopped and asked, how many of you have seen this interview of Amir Khan? And out of that class of 60 students, 20 of them have seen this interview. Others have not seen the interview. They just listened to news channels discussing about it. They just listened to all these blogs and all of those discussing about it. It is not their opinion. They are forming an opinion based on the opinion of so many other people. So in class debates can actually, because it is an argument, one person says, and this will build them some kind of a confidence and critical thinking. Gamification is a really good method to build your engagement. But the challenge with, I went for a gamification session. I learned so many tools there. And what happened is when I tried to implement this gamification, 1 hour just like that goes. Students are engaged, they are very interested, they take part in it, but this 1 hour is not really enough for me to complete the whole process. And finally, they don't replicate it very well in their exams. So finally, it all boils down to exams. So gamification is very good. You can take up points, leaderboards, quizzes. Quizzes are very easy, very good to see whether the students have understood things. But other forms of gamification, what I've personally experienced is I don't get time to complete all of these. We have these points, leaderboards. I give them for all the kids who give answers. Even in an MBA program, I give them small chocolates. Sometimes I go to class with chart paper, sketch pens, and all of those. Make them draw what they learned the previous day. So all of these I do, but then I have always felt that it takes up so much of our time when we are pressurized with our syllabus and all of those. But quizzes are something that we can actually definitely look at. Today we have AI tools which will help you develop the quiz also and make it interesting also. You tell them that it should have a funny note. The quiz will be developed that way. And students like to do that. Recently, we had this case where one of the internal exam question paper was completely based on a movie. uh, the entire management things that happened in the movie, that was the question, and kids were very happy writing that. They were looking at what all they learned and how can they apply that into the movie. So that is something. 1 minute paper is something I found to be very useful, where I ask students to write one most important thing that they learned at the end of the class. They'll write just that, and that is 1 minute paper. That is a very interesting way in which they try to summarize everything that we discussed in class. So I would suggest that if you have a 1 hour session, you have to break it into 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and the last 5 minutes you should actually keep for revision. When I say revision, it is not our traditional summary. Let it come from the students rather than we giving them something. You can ask them to do. You can use technology. I would want all of you to, the way we discussed and we found that word cloud, all of you might be familiar with it. That is a tool called Mentimeter, which is something I use every day in my class. I create polls with Mentimeter, and there is no need for anybody coming and teaching you what is Mentimeter. You just have to go to their website, menti.com, MENTI, and there are, you want to create a poll, that is possible. If you want to create a word cloud like this, that is possible. Every time you introduce a new topic, in order to understand what they already know, let us use a Mentimeter there. You use a poll. How many of you know this particular concept? Yes, no. Something that will, and ask them to take their mobile phone. See, something I'll tell you, what I was listening to a talk in one of the literature festivals. So they were speaking about, see, if a boy is born in the if his house is very near to the beach, there is no point in telling the child, don't go to the beach. Don't go to the beach. It can be very dangerous. Waves can come. Please don't go near the beach. It's not something, don't go near the sea. You cannot tell that to a child, especially when your house is just in front of the sea. Instead, what you do is you teach them how to swim. That is the same situation we are with technology. We cannot, technology is very near to us. All of us, I'm sure, our hands would have different formats today because we use our mobile phones too much. All of us need our mobile phones. We are all technology oriented. Now, don't tell your students not to use technology, but tell them how to use it, how well to use it. So use Kahoot. Kahoot is again another very good platform. I used to use Kahoot a lot previously, but right now I'm very comfortable with Mentimeter. Kahoot has come out with completely new methods. These are few sites that you can just visit and find out what is there. Right? Kahoot, Mentimeter, flipped classroom. Use your WhatsApp groups creatively. You can have polls there. YouTube, podcast, all of those. So remember, technology will not replace teachers, but teachers who use technology will replace those who don't use technology. Now, this is where we have to remember, we have to bring in technology into our classrooms. Use these platforms, Kahoot, Mentimeter. These are very good platforms to engage your students where they get to speak. You know what is the biggest advantage there? Any student who is not even interested in speaking will speak. Now, when I asked you to give one thing that you think about the students of today, some of you typed in the chat. So if it was an open classroom and I asked to all of you, maybe you wouldn't speak. As teachers, we would probably speak and not stop, but then students may not. So students may not respond to you when it is an open question to the classroom. But if it is using technology, they are okay with it. That is the whole idea behind Cockroach Janata Party also. Because it is behind a screen. You don't have to come out in the public and say, this is something I don't like. You sit somewhere comfortably, and in that virtual world is where you're speaking about it. Give that platform for the students. Let them use this technology to. So all the students who don't participate will also participate if it is a Kahoot or Mentimeter. Take it from me. So if there are 30 students, you should say that I'll stop only when I get 30 responses. So these are methods where you can use. As teachers, what we should do is set the tone from day one. When you first go to the class itself, you should say, "This is how I'm going to do it, and I want everybody to speak." Something all of us don't do, or some of you might be really good at it, is whether you know your students' name. Address them by their name. That itself can do a lot of engagement. Initial days, you should make sure that every day you learn at least 5 students' name. And all of us, I'm sure, after this COVID days, all of us are battling with memory issues, irrespective of our age. It's very difficult to recollect your students' name. Now, my students have gone for internship. When they come back, I'm not very sure whether I'll have all their names ready with me. But thankfully, it is exam days. So, during exam duty, I sit and look at each name and student, and I recollect them. So, learn your student's name. And don't build a class, build a community. Someone who is ready to stand for each other. Use humor. Students may not laugh at your jokes, but then give jokes. Use humor. It should be added as a spice. It should not be the crux of it. But use humor. Make your classroom a safe place to speak. We should not question them again. See, sometimes we ask a question. Don't give up closed questions. Don't ask them a question, what is marketing? Instead, you can ask them, what are the different things that come in marketing? What do you think? What do you see around you as marketing? Now, that makes it more of an open question. Make it a safe place to speak. There should be no judgment. So, that is where set the tone from day one. You should make sure that your other class students do not discourage anybody from speaking. And if somebody discourage others from speaking, be very sarcastic. You can use all your humor there. Vary your teaching methods. They say that 10 minutes is when you are interested in something. After 10 minutes, you have to ask them a question or change the topic somehow. You have to give a call or something in between you should be doing. Check in regularly. Are you getting my point? Is something that you can ask your students regularly. So wherever there is confusions, wherever there is, when you ask this again and again, probably they would respond back. Connect the content to their world. Bring things to their world. Speak about things that are happening in their world. So something I suggest all my colleagues and I personally do is I sit and watch all the movies that the kids these days watch. So I ask them, what did you watch? What movies do you watch? Because I see so many contents that I can use in my classroom from these movies. I try to listen to their songs. I try to feel myself connected to their world. So that is something that all of us can actually look at. Now, when you're using assessments also, so this is again something very important. You should have formative assessment, which is don't have it as high stakes. That is, if you don't pass this exam, you are out of the class or it will affect your internal marks. No. Regular checks you can give using small quizzes, small polls to understand how they are learning. It is happening during the learning process. So give them regular. Something very important is low stakes. Even if they lose, it is okay. Don't give them negative marks for wrong answers, but low stakes check. It is just for them to realize whether they are going in the right path. Give them peer assessment. Uh, all of us as young students might have seen teachers will ask you to correct your friend's test paper. Let students evaluate each other's work. Let them see what others think. Let it build critical thinking. Another is rubric based feedback. Excuse me. Alexa, stop. So now that was my reminder for my son who is not here. Right. So we can give rubric based feedback, which is give them rubrics. Don't tell the students that, okay, I'm going to conduct an assignment and I will evaluate it. Tell them how you will evaluate it. What are the conditions? Will you be evaluating them in terms of communication? Will you be evaluating them in terms of whether they have clearly understood the concept? Tell them what is the criteria. Beforehand, give them the feedback. That is, you are going to, this is my condition. In this condition, your communication, I've given you 4 out of 10. So students are also very clear as to what made them lose the marks and what they can improve. Give them timely feedback. Feedback that is given immediately is far more effective than an end of semester grades. You tell them at the end of your semester, oh, your marks are low. No, give them feedback immediately. When they are standing, would we not do that for our students, for our kids? Similarly, give them immediate feedback. Something I found another interesting, again, it is a concept that is coming from Harvard, no, Stanford, which is metacognition. Metacognition is where you make the students to think about their thinking, encourage them to reflect on how they learn. So when you taught them something, ask them to keep all the books closed and ask them to write a summary of all that they remember. So you know what happens? Whatever they wrote there, they will never forget it. It is definitely part of their long term memory. Now they slowly recollect few things, they might put it wrong. Now we are asking the student to read that person's summary and compare it with the actual answer. Ask them to find out what worked for them and where they found this problem. Instead of us telling them, this is how you should write your exam, you're not using the right words, let the student think about their own thinking. That is a method called metacognition. And finally, celebrate effort, not just results. Even if a student is give them some assignments. I'm sure internal marks is based on test papers and assignments. While you're conducting an assignment, give them an assignment where you are acknowledging their participation. You're acknowledging their participation and not just what they finally got as results. So these are some ways in which we can I'm sure that we are almost up with the time. I have just two more slides to share with you. Is that okay, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Continue.
So some common mistakes that we can avoid. One is we don't talk with our students. Instead, we talk at our students. So this is something that as teachers, we have to be very conscious. It is very important that we talk with them. So if possible, step down from that podium where you stand, go around with your students and stand with them and talk with them. We tell the students not to read from slides, but most often we end up reading from slides. And that can be the most disengaged classroom. So that is something that as teachers, we should try to avoid. Ignoring the energy in the room. I have a 8-year-old son. Now, problem with him is he cannot sit silent for even 1 minute, 2 minutes. He'll be jumping around. Now, I have this piece at home because they are at native place. Otherwise, this class even wouldn't have been possible for me. So if you actually look at it, there is an energy in all our students, even our students who are sitting there. Always remember that these are the kids who might not have diagnosed their ADHD. These are the kids who might not have even understood what their learning style is. So when there is an energy, we should understand that the energy is dropping. We have to stop. You cannot ignore the energy or disenergy in your class. Another major challenge as teachers, we engage with the front row students. When I say front row, not essentially the ones who sit in the front row, but there are some students who engage, and we continually speak with them. So when we don't get an answer, we tend to look at them. Okay, you don't have an answer, and they give you the answer. Don't do that, or we should not be engaging only with them. We should try to engage with those kids who are not giving us answers also. So this is one way you can do it. Use technology there and probably they would engage. Shutting down wrong answers. When somebody gives an answer and you say that is wrong, then they'll not open their mouth. So let us not shut down wrong answers, but we do this every time in our class. When somebody gives a completely wrong answer, I'll ask other students to make it correct. So, okay, he has given this. What do you think? How can you make it better? And then finally, we will have the correct answer. So when I finally summarize, I would say, okay, we started this person X who gave the answer, and then we modified and we have reached here. If you actually look at the answer, the two answers are completely different. But this person who gave the answer would not feel like disowning, or he wouldn't be unwilling to give an answer the next time. Using the same method every class. I used to ask questions and give them chocolates. So 3 times, 4 times they were okay. Then they said, "Ma'am, this is so boring." So when we use the same method every class, every day, if you use the same polls, if you use same quizzes, they'll get bored because they are seeing reels. Every individual reel that they see is completely different. So they need difference. They need that variety. Don't fight the phone, use it. Use your phone. Make the students also to use the phone, because you cannot go out of it. You cannot be without the mobile phones anymore. So sometimes we cover a lot of content, but we may not uncover the meaning. And one mistake we can make as faculty is never asking for feedback. We definitely have to give feedback to our students, and we should ask for feedback as well. So when we know the feedback, okay, this is what they thought about my class, there are so many things that we can change. So remember, some of you might be thinking, I am not tech savvy, I don't know how to do all these things. Students know more technology than me. What if I do something and it goes wrong? Don't worry about it. We just have to have that courage to try something new. And you know what? Even if something goes wrong, your students wouldn't be worried. They'll be only happy that you tried. Even when you're not tech savvy, even when you don't know technology, and students might help you with making it better. So don't wait for everything to be okay and then use it. Just have that courage to try something new. So these are few things that I would try. I would ask all of you to try tomorrow. Start with a question, learn 5 new names, try a 5 minute Mentimeter poll for any of your class. Ask them to give a 1 minute reflection. Let students write their reflection of the class. 10 minutes of lecture, swap it for some kind of discussion. And most importantly, smile and make a lot of eye contacts with your students, because these are students who are actually craving for attention. They actually love their teachers, but they do not know how to express it. They expect a lot from us teachers, and we just have to smile and give them that eye contact and ask the students, what is it that you enjoy in my class? So ask them to fill in the blanks as when Megha ma'am comes to the class, this is how I feel. Maybe some student would write, I would feel like running away. Even then, that is a feedback for you. And ask students of all my classes, which activity did you like? What did you learn from that activity? So try some of these things, and then I'm sure that all of us will be able to bring in student engagement. So it is not just a technique, it is a mindset shift. We need to understand there are barriers. We have to embrace the different learning activities that we discussed, design every class with intention, so we can make sure that every class counts. So we have to understand the students, involve the students, and finally there should be continuous feedbacks and outcomes should be there. So these were few things that I had in mind to ask you, which is all of us might have a moment where you saw a student truly light up in your class. Something you said or something they did that actually changed the class. So is there something like that you would like to discuss, or else this is what I have in store for you? So see, I have not taken any of these very difficult technology oriented things that might make your classes engage. So because personally what I believe is we can make our classes engaged with or without technology, but we should make sure that but we should make sure that whatever we bring into the class, we should be prepared well with that, and give a chance to all of our students to engage in it. So that is what I have in mind. Is there any thing that you would like to discuss in these lines in terms of student engagement? Anything that you would like to discuss. And see, I'll share my mail ID with ma'am. So what you can do is, in case there is, I actually want all of you to try this. Some of you might have already used Mentimeter and all of those. So Mentimeter and Kahoot are two things that I would suggest for beginners to use. Nothing rocket science there. It is all very plain simple. You just have to go to their website and it is easily done. So, and our students will be like, okay, oh, this ma'am or this sir is very tech oriented. Yes.
Dear participants, if you have any doubt, put it in the chat box.
Thank you so much for your feedback, but I'm also looking forward for the feedback. So I think I'll be meeting you all tomorrow as well.
Good evening, ma'am. It was a
Good
wonderful
evening, ma'am.
I'm Dr. Shaila, Assistant Professor, VO Chidambaram College, Thuthukudi, ma'am. So
Okay.
really, it was eye-opening session. I have a small clarification, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, in some situation, we face a challenge that students are showing least interest to grasp and to understand the important things. Just they will be listen and going when the for this when we are focusing them for the examination. So that when they are present on the exams, they are not much concentrate in the deep. Just they are writing by own way. So how we have to manage them to focus on do well in the exam, not simply just presenting things on the outline. Rather, how we can.
I understand where this is coming from, ma'am, because we all face this kind of issues. There are some students who might know the answer, but their exam papers would have nothing. And sometimes they don't really understand what is the most important thing in that particular. So you teach them about, say, customer engagement. They learn so many things, but not what customer engagement is. One technique that I have found very useful is when during the internal exams, when we get their answer paper, I give it back to them. So I've given 2 out of maybe a 10-mark question gets 2 marks, and I ask them to come back and write and give to me where did they lose these 8 marks. So this is just for the examination point of view, because I think as an Indian system, what we do is everything is related to examination. So somehow we have to help them tackle the examination also. So after all the internals, if there are some students who I feel they, if I'm giving them a method to write it very well, probably they can do. So something that I do is I ask them to come back and write and give to me as to what made them lose those marks. That has actually helped me because they are doing the thinking there. They might look at other students' papers and they'll come and say, "I didn't write this point. I wrote it wrong. The most important thing was not there." So they write it and come and give it back. Then they know what went wrong. But again, I would say it is a very difficult thing to get these students to come to that level and write it. Sometimes it's very difficult, especially they are pampered in their schools. They're getting very good marks in schools also. So when it comes to undergraduation and post graduation, we definitely face this challenge. So each student is different also. Something I would suggest is ask them to take up this VAK test. There is something called, some students are visual, auditory, kinesics test for learning is there. I'm sure some of the teachers would definitely know, especially if you're coming from that education or organization behavior kind of background. So if you can take the test for the students, they would know whether they are a visual person or an auditory person or somebody who does things and learn. That can actually help improve their learning methods also. That is something I have found.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Nicely explained. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. So once again, I would like to give my sincere thanks to the team out there, the IQAC team and the management of the institution for bringing out this kind of a session. And any feedbacks, please feel free to raise it up. Thank you so much.
Any dear participants? Shall we end today's session? Any queries? Okay, so now it's time to end the session officially. So now I invite Assistant Professor Dr. P.R. Prinslin to thank the gathering.
Gratitude is the memory of the heart. I am with immense joy and deep gratitude to deliver the word of thanks for this memorable gathering. I bow in gratitude to Reverend Dr. C. Stephen, Secretary and Correspondent of NACAS, for his vision, mission, and wisdom. Thank you, Father. Then, I extend my sincere thanks to Dr. M. Amalanathan, Principal of NACAS, for his unwavering support towards every academic endeavor of our institution. Thank you, sir. Then, our special gratitude goes to the distinguished keynote speaker, Dr. Megha Mary Michael, Assistant Professor, Bharadamada Institute of Management, Cochin. Ma'am, your insightful keynote address illuminated our minds and inspired us with new perspectives. The knowledge and experiences you shared today will certainly remain with us for a long time. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I also extend my thanks to all the faculty members and organizing committee members of IQSC and all the participants. Let us leave this online platform not merely with notes and memories, but with renewed inspiration and purpose. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you everyone for being part of today's session. The feedback link of today's session has been posted in the chat. Keep learning, keep growing, and see you again tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, ma'am. Good night.